Hello and welcome back to the Scenario 7 podcast. My name is Sam, and this week I'm not joined by the normal Josh and Joe. Both of them are busy, so I've brought in the University of Northampton's elite. We have brought in the first of all, let's introduce, he is the best thing to come out of Romania ever. It's Mr. Robert Constantine. Robert, how are you doing? Second podcast appearance?
Second podcast. I'm happy to be here again. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries.
I'm a super sub on this podcast. I'm happy.
You really are. Super is definitely the way to describe you. And second of all, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the neighbour of the incredible household that is 37 St Michael's Road. It's Kian Donahue. Kian, how are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm great.
That's great to hear. And we are here for a review of the United States Grand Prix. We are bringing you this on Tuesday because of the time of the race being so late, and we didn't really have time to record later. So you're going to get it on Tuesday, but there's a 2-week break anyway. So you've got a lot of time to listen to it. First of all, lads, what are your general thoughts on how the race went?
Can I start?
Go for it.
All right. So I'm very, very happy with not necessarily how the race turned out, because I'm obviously a Mercedes fanboy. But the race itself was so good. Stressful up until the end. You know, the last 3 laps, it all came down to that, and I'm happy that finally, after so many years, we have such an entertaining F1 season. I think it was a good race. I think strategy-wise, Red Bull were on it. It was entertaining, and you expect that from the USA, obviously.
Yeah, Kian, what do you think of the race?
It was quite an interesting one. You know, we actually had action from the start to the end. Surprisingly, you know, the strategy actually kept them quite in touch. You know, and you know, like Robert said, you know, it's not really one for Mercedes fans, but I mean, Red Bull will be happy. I mean, there's other teams that did well, others didn't. It's quite an interesting one. You know, it's shaping up to be a great end of the season.
Yeah, no, it certainly is shaping up to be a good end to the season. Let's start on Saturday. And what are your takeouts from qualifying? What things really stood out for you?
I think, you know, when you look at the practice times, I think Red Bull, I think they improved a lot. I wasn't expecting Red Bull to be so fast in qualifying. And then Verstappen just had an amazing lap. Great lap from Hamilton as well to start second. Very unfortunate for Mercedes that Bottas was not there to help. So obviously with the 5th place grid drop, that didn't help. But qualifying, it was fairly tame. Not much happened, to be honest. It wasn't that shocking of a result, but I thought it was all right.
Yeah. What do you think, Kian?
Well, I mean, it was quite, you know, it's quite interesting. I think, yeah, if McLaren could have kept them sort of paces from Q1, they might have been happy with it, but they just seemed to drop away. Same with Ferrari as well. They were up there in Q1. Yeah, but, you know, at the end of the day, it was one of the results you expected. You got Hamilton and Verstappen on the front row of the grid. I mean, Bottas, you know, how many engine penalties they're going to give him? You know, that's kind of the reason why they didn't have him to help.
Yeah, no, completely. I was a bit gutted because of practice. Perez looked so good, and I don't know why. I just thought he was going to get it on pole, and I was really excited. I mean, third was really good. Third, I was very happy with for Perez, but there was a part of me that was slightly disappointed because some of the lap times he was putting in practice, I thought he could have stuck it on pole, but never mind. He had a good race in the end, and a good quality. But yeah, let's let me quickly run through the incidents in the race. No big DNFs because of collisions or stuff. It was just we had 3 DNFs, and lap 15, Gasly retired with suspension failure. on lap 42, Ocon retired with an issue with the back of the car. And on lap 51, the other Alpine retired with a rear wing issue. So a terrible Sunday for Alpine, with everything that could have gone wrong basically did go wrong. I just want to pick up on something quickly before we go into a deep dive into each team. It has to be one of the best trophy presentation of the year.
Oh, Shaq,
Shaquille
just
O'Neal.
Shaq in general.
It was unreal. Shaquille O'Neal rocking up on a land yacht and then just presenting the trophy, being taller than Lewis despite Lewis standing on the second step and he was just on the floor. That has to be the best
He also
presentation.
taller than Max as well.
Yeah, he was similar size to Max. It was class. I mean, what other trophy presentations come to mind this year? Because I mean, you've got Monaco, but other than that, that has to be the best, surely.
That is the effect of the USA again. You expect this from America, and I'm not surprised. It was quite entertaining, and as you said, we haven't had something like this so far this season. And I think that's mainly because of COVID as well. We're just slowly getting back into the normal, the normal track walks, grid walks, and then the podium celebrations as well. So we're slowly easing back into the routine. But this was a really, really fun way to end a really good race. So yeah.
It was definitely good fun. Let's move on to our team breakdown, starting with the battle between the two teams that you guys have drivers you support from. So we're gonna have a bit of this will be interesting. But yeah, let's talk about the Mercedes versus Red Bull battle, starting with Hamilton and Verstappen and how that ended up. How would you describe their battle this weekend? It was more of a battle of strategy than raw pace.
Well, we had a really good start. I'm talking as a Mercedes fanboy now. So really good start from Hamilton. I was genuinely expecting them to crash into turn one. It seemed like that would be inevitable, but somehow they managed to avoid each other, which was incredible. Verstappen went wide at the exit of turn one, so that helped. He kind of learned from his past mistakes. He decided to let Hamilton go and then come back, with the help of the strategy. Strategy-wise, I don't think any of the teams made any mistakes. It was a perfect strategy from Red Bull with the undercuts. And then Mercedes didn't really have any choice since Bottas was so far back down the grid. They just wanted Hamilton to have as much space as possible towards the end, which he had. He just couldn't get there in time. He was so close to getting that DRS open on the last lap, but unfortunately he didn't. Great racing from Verstappen. No mistake from either driver. It was just brilliant from both of them.
Yeah, Kian, what is your perspective on it as a Verstappen fan?
It was quite interesting to see the contrast in the strategies. Obviously it's usually Mercedes that have the two drivers versus Max, but it was nice to see a role reversal. So Hamilton was the one suffering on the end of the double prong attack from Red Bull, and it was quite interesting when they put, was it 2 sets of mediums that Checo used?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really thought that they were going to mess that up for him at the end, but it just turns out that he did all right too.
Yeah, no, completely. Yeah, let's talk about the other two drivers as well, especially Valtteri Bottas, because he's taken another engine penalty. This is getting ridiculous now. How many engine penalties is he gonna need to take? Is he gonna need to take another one in Abu Dhabi or somewhere like that? I mean, it's a bit mad that all his engines are kind of, I don't know if they're breaking. What do you think is going on with Bottas and his engines?
Well, there was one obvious strategical engine swap a couple of races ago, but now it's just shocking. It doesn't make any sense. He just changed his ICE for no reason because he had a basically a brand new one. Hopefully, they won't need to change anything else on that car until the end of the season, because that would just be insane. But this is one of the things that I don't really like about the new F1 and how many penalties you can get just by changing some bits on your car. But that's just the rules and regulations, and yeah, we have to get used to that.
Yeah, what do you make of it, Kian, and all the engine changes with Bottas?
I mean, the thing is, right, it's always the internal combustion engine. So either there's an issue with what Valtteri's doing, or Mercedes have had a knock on the head and they must think they can donate to Lewis or something. Because I mean, there's no reason for him to have so many, surely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There is. It must be an issue. It has to be something like that. But
I really don't think there's any issue. These cars are designed to take as much as they can, and as a driver, you really don't get the chance to break anything on that car, because the computers in the car, they're just perfect. So I don't see how Bottas would have increased wear, compared to Hamilton when they're driving virtually the same car and at pretty much the same pace. It's strange. It doesn't make any sense to me, at least. And I don't think it's because Bottas wears down the engine quicker. It's just, don't know. We'll have to ask a Mercedes engineer if you want to get the real answer.
Yeah, it would be interesting if someone like Toto Wolff or someone like an engineer came out and actually explained it, because I think a lot of fans are in the dark and they're a bit confused about what is going on. But I know let's give the spotlight to Perez. I'm gonna waffle about him. He had a great weekend. He started really well for them, and then he went through a spell of really struggling to get race results, and that's 2 consecutive podiums in a row for him. He looks like he's finally getting to grips with the car. It's clear that he's a second driver. I mean, the reaction from Christian Horner, who came down to give Max a hug, and then as soon as he gave Max a hug, he just left before seeing Perez, despite Perez getting a podium for the team. So it's so clear that Perez is a second driver, but it's nice that he's finally doing his bit. People could finally shut up saying that they should have kept Albon, they should have kept Gasly. I mean, there's arguments for that, but Perez is doing a great job, and I don't think he needs to be replaced. I think signing him on for next year, if he can keep up his form that he's showing now, anyway, not the form where he was really struggling, but showing the form now, then he has to. He could do some really good things for the Red Bull next year. Do you think that Perez should have stayed or should have signed a new contract to 2022, or do you think they should have gone a different way?
I'll let Kian have this one, since he's more of a Red Bull fan.
I wouldn't really say Red Bull fan, but whatever. I think with Checo, he's a good driver to have, and and at a place like Red Bull, there's not really many opportunities for him to be consistently up there and fighting for race wins. Like he did in Baku. He was there, ready to take up the lead when Hamilton messed up. So I think it's good for him. Sure, second driver might not be what he wants, especially coming from so many years at Racing Point and Force India as their primary driver and the one that brought them all the money in. But it'll be good for him. And I think if they can get him for another season, then it will also help the team, especially going to the new regs as well.
Yeah, Robert, what do you think?
Perez is a really good driver. He is one of the best on this current Formula One grid. But for Red Bull, he is, he's always going to be the second driver as long as Verstappen is in that team. And you can see just how big of a difference there is between Perez and Verstappen, even in terms of raw pace and driving skill. Perez finished 30, 40 seconds behind Hamilton in the race on a similar strategy. So he's never going to be the main driver at Red Bull before Verstappen leaves, but he is he's suited for that team at the moment.
Yeah, and hopefully he can carry it on into next season, doing some bits for Red Bull. And I'm just happy that he's still in the sport after his future was so uncertain coming to the end of his contract at Racing Point. It was umming and ahhing about where they stay, but I'm glad Christian Horner gave them the call. And to be honest, I think that it's a decision that has benefited Red Bull, as he's definitely been more consistent than Gasly and Albon, the two priors of the seat. Let's move on to the battle between McLaren and Ferrari. This is hotting up as Ferrari are gaining points on McLaren for the last few weeks now, and it's a very interesting one. Norris yesterday, finishing 8th, getting 4 points for the team, and Ricciardo getting 5th. However, Ferrari still got a 4-point advantage, with Leclerc coming 4th and Sainz in 7th. So how do you weigh up the battle between these two teams over the weekend? Who do you think shone, and who do you think may be disappointed?
I don't think any of them disappointed this weekend. On track, we had some really great battles, especially in the first lap with Lando just joining into that battle between, was it Sainz and Ricciardo?
Yeah,
that was really, really nice. I think they all 4 of the drivers had really good races. Leclerc at some point was gaining on Perez, trying to fight for that, last spot on the podium. Obviously didn't work out, but really good racing from all of them, and so close in the championship. It's the gap between McLaren and Ferrari. What is it, like 3.5 points at the moment?
Something like that, yeah.
Very, very close. And we still have some races to go. I genuinely was not expecting to have such an intense battle for the 3rd spot in the constructors this season, but it just goes to show how good the 2021 season actually is. We don't just have a great battle for first place. We also have these teams, McLaren and Ferrari, coming back into the sport after having a few dodgy seasons. Ferrari, especially last year, were basically nowhere, and now it's just entertaining. I love it.
Yeah, Kian, what do you think about this battle between the two teams?
Touching on what Robert said, obviously with Ferrari being so mediocre last season, it's nice to see them back, because I think without them, McLaren would have just been strolling along however they wanted to 3rd place, because there's not exactly anyone near them, is there? Right.
Yeah.
But also with same with the performances, you can't really fault them. They were in the midfield area. They were below most of the Red Bulls and Mercs, so they were exactly where you expect them to be. Maybe someone like Lando won't be so happy with his performance, losing out to Bottas and then not actually fighting so much with, especially Sainz, like Ricciardo was.
Yeah.
But it was a good weekend for both of them, and I think it's going to go right down to the wire for 3rd.
Yeah, I think you're right. It will go down to the wire, but let's ask the big question: who's going to come out on top? Do you think McLaren will finish higher in the constructors, or do you think it will be Ferrari and the Tifosi?
Ooh.
Yeah, big question.
The main thing we need to think about is we're going to have 2 brand new tracks this season. So there's no way to know which team is going to end up on top in these 2 races. Apart from that, we have Mexico, which is a really good track for Ferrari. And then Abu Dhabi might favor McLaren in some points. I really don't know. I'm tempted to say Ferrari.
Ooh. Yeah.
But I think my heart wants to say McLaren, so I'm just going to go for McLaren.
Kian, what do you think?
I think I'd have to go Ferrari, if I'm honest. They've got Leclerc and Sainz, who are both putting in very similar performances every week. So I think that's going to take them over the line compared to, Ricciardo, who he's he's had a resurgence. He's doing a lot better since he won in Monza. But I mean, at the same time, Lando seems to sort of been taking on the sort of inconsistencies or like lower positions that Daniel was getting. So I think with the with the two consistent performances of the Ferraris, they're going to edge it out a bit.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I think Carlos Sainz needs a lot of praise this year because when he came into the car, I didn't think that the McLaren would be competing. I thought they'd be much higher up than Ferrari just because I thought the Ferrari would do well, but I didn't think they'd be competing with McLaren because I thought Leclerc would do well. But I thought that Sainz would take a little while to adapt. And to be honest, he's been really good all season. I think he's probably one of my contenders for driver of the season this year, just because of how consistent he's been and the work he's done in that Ferrari has really been superb. So it will definitely be an interesting one that I think will go down to the wire. Let's move on to the midfield battle now. AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, and Alpine. We had a combined 3 points between the 6 drivers this week, with only 2 of the drivers scoring points, that being Yuki Tsunoda for AlphaTauri getting 9th and Vettel getting 10th in the Aston Martin. I'm not really sure what to say about these teams because there's been a lot of DNFs, but how would you compare the results between the 3 teams? I mean, just really unlucky from Alpine, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm unlucky both for Alpine and for Gasly. I think all of their issues came from just how many bumps are in the track in Texas. In terms of like championship position, Alpine are still in front, and they're probably going to end up finishing in front, since they tend to get the best results. Even though Aston Martin is kind of getting back into the points. I don't know what happened to Stroll, to be honest. He didn't really have his best
Never
race.
does well in America.
Yeah, no, he
Q1 there, so
yeah, he does struggle in America. Yeah.
Vettel, however, had a really good race. Starting from the back, getting that 1 point, solid race from him. And then we have the AlphaTauris, who I would say should have been the favorites to finish, in 5th place or 4th place actually in the championship, because they've got Gasly, who's one of the best drivers on the grid. They got Tsunoda, who, even though he's a rookie, he had some solid performances at the start of the season and now getting closer to the end. But yeah, it's an interesting battle in the mid-table, and I really don't know what's going to happen, to be honest.
Yeah,
Kian, what do you think about this battle?
I mean, certainly between Alpine and AlphaTauri, it's gonna be quite an interesting one because they're both quite close. I think they've both got quite galvanizing figures in Alonso and Gasly. They can both perform performances when they need to. I mean, as for Aston Martin, I mean, what's happened? They're still so far off. I mean, they probably need like a miracle at this point to overhaul. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to think of them, to be honest. They're just a bit.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season for Aston Martin because I thought they'd be doing a lot better than they are. They've got a Mercedes powered car. They came off a really good season last year, and they did have a spell in the middle of the season, starting at Monaco, where their strategy was superb. And ever since then, the strategy has kind of been thrown out the window. In Turkey, you have Vettel going out on slicks in the wet, which was a stupid idea. Today, getting a point was probably the best result for them. Stroll, as you say, Kian, always struggles in the United States. And it was really weird with Stroll because I forgot he was racing. They never panned the camera to him. They never gave him any airtime. He just had a really non-existent race going from 13th to 12th. I mean, gaining a place, but not a very interesting one, and should have potentially pushed more for a point, getting beaten by both or one of the Alfa Romeos, which is, to be honest, a bit embarrassing. But yeah, they've had a weird season, and I agree with you, Robert, that I thought that Alpha Tauri would be doing. I thought they would be the team to beat in this battle, but Alpine, to be fair to them, Alonso's been superb. Really unlucky today with the DNF, and then Ocon getting a race win really did help them, but DNFing today, which is such a shame because Alpine were doing not too badly. But let's move on to Alfa Romeo and Williams. It's a bit of a thing where Williams had some really good race results. So I think 2 races this year, and it's just pushed them away from Alfa Romeo now because the Alfa Romeo car is good enough for 1, maybe pushing 2 points. But if it's not going to get other than that, then they're not going to really be in contention for, let's say, a 7 or a 6th or something like that. But yeah, how would you describe the battle this weekend? Because Raikkonen bottled points.
I think Kimi doesn't want to be in Formula One anymore. He's just starting to show it. I thought the Alphas were really good for us, for the fans watching, because you had Kimi and Giovinazzi fighting with Alonso for a good part of the race, and it was really fun to watch and to actually listen to the conversations between the Alpine boss and Michael Massey complaining about Giovinazzi's overtake. That was brilliant. I really don't know what Kimi did. It just happened, and then no one really said anything about it. And then Giovinazzi, I still think Giovinazzi is one of the most underrated drivers on the grid. I really, really like him. He constantly just destroys Kimi in quali mostly, and no one talks about Giovinazzi. I don't know why. But yeah, in terms of the battle between Alfa Romeo and Williams, it's over. Williams were incredibly lucky this season, and just thinking back to Spa, like how do you get so many points as Williams? You need some luck in Formula One. So there's no chance for Alfa Romeo to come back. As you said, they might get 1 or 2 points here and there, but not nearly enough to place them on top of Williams. So yeah, in terms of Williams' race, I didn't really see much of him.
Yeah,
I guess we saw Latifi at the start, sharing a kiss with Stroll, and then that was basically it. Yeah, pretty bad race for Williams, which is a good thing. It means that they really had a good season, since this was one of their worst performances.
Yeah, it does show improvement. Kian, what do you think about the battle between Alfa and Williams?
A lot of what is the same as what Robert said. Obviously with the Williams, you hear win, there's going to be a win, and you go, right, okay, so the Williams is not going to be good this weekend then, because you could someone could be stood at the side of the track and blowing on the car and it wouldn't do well. It's that susceptible to the wind. But certainly they did get very lucky, but that's not through. Only some of that's through luck. George getting P2, no one ever managed that. Imagined Belgium to end up being like that. But with Hungary, a lot of that was showing their hard work and how much progress they've made. Because especially considering last season they were finishing behind a Haas, and look at Haas now.
Yeah. We'll go on to talk about Haas in a moment, but the 2 people that normally do this podcast, especially Joe, they are not the biggest fans of Giovinazzi, and you have come out and said he is the most underrated driver in the grid. I like him, and I think he should stay in Formula One. However, I wanted to get a bit more from you about Giovinazzi and why you think that. I'm guessing you think he should keep his seat, and tell me a bit more why you think he's so underrated, because the 2 people that normally at this podcast definitely disagree.
Well, he's been in Formula One for a few years, and I've never heard anyone talk about Giovinazzi in a good way. People just tend to notice his mistakes. He had some mistakes this season as well, and in the past, he's had some crashes and stuff like that. But no one looks at his results and how consistent he is, because he's consistently, beating Kimi Raikkonen, former Formula One world champion. That means something in this sport. And even for this race, he got 2 points. That's something. I think that's really good for Giovinazzi. And yeah, what else can I say? I genuinely believe he's a really good driver.
Yeah, I like the passion you're showing, but yeah, getting points is a decent result for Alfa Romeo. Final thing on him: do you think he should keep his seat for next year?
Well, it's not for me to decide, but yes, I would like to see him in that seat next season as well.
Yeah, Kian, do you say you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. He's done enough to stay in the seat, but I mean, will he? He's probably definitely not going to be, because Alfa Romeo is going to see all the money from Guan Yu Zhou and go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's the same what Robert said. I mean, he's been very good. I mean, sure, Kimi Raikkonen isn't who he used to be, but he's still a good driver. And to be beaten in that consistently, I mean, that only really gets noticed in a lower level team if your name's George Russell. So it's nice to see him get some recognition for sure.
Yeah. No, completely. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Alfa Romeo, with them looking to be bought by, I think it's Maserati, I think are looking at buying them. Or
Romeo, it's Andretti.
Andretti, yeah, which sounds like Maserati. I mean, it doesn't sound like Maserati, but let's just pretend that it sounds like Maserati. Yeah, Andretti buying them, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's move on to the final team. It's everyone's favourite, Haas. What a team. What even is there to say? Schumacher 16th to 16th and Mazepin 17th to 17th, which is last because there were 3 DNFs. Anything to say on Haas this weekend, or just as a team? We normally just slate them at this point.
Well, there's not much to say about Haas. They gave up before the season even started. They didn't do anything for this season. The car is the same as last year, so obviously they're gonna be at the bottom. You've got Schumacher, who I think he made his debut in Formula One a bit too early, I would say. I think he should have just waited for a couple more years to get into an actual team, and then prove his worth. And then you have Nikita Mazepin, who is behind 3 Alfa Romeo drivers in the championship, which is unheard of. So it's basically a joke of a team. Yeah, what else can you say about Haas? There's no good things to say about Haas because they haven't done anything.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Kim, what do you think about them?
It's really the tale of two fates at Haas, isn't it? I mean, like, you've got Schumacher. I think I disagree with Rob. I think he's probably in F1 at the right time, but he's just been dealt the very unfortunate hand of being in the abominable Haas. And then, I mean, obviously, there's Mazepin, who, very fun game to play is how far can Mazepin be behind Schumacher? And I mean, obviously, there was reports that I think he did have a 3rd pit stop, but still, even then, with the pit stop, it was like a minute and a half down on Schumacher. And at that point, you're going to go, what is he doing? To just be that slow, or is Schumacher just that good?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I have to say about the Haas, their cars don't really break down. I don't remember them DNFing this season. I think it's always just been finishing last. And yeah, the car is great, lovely car.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a really sensational, competitive car.
Reliable car.
Very power unit. It's not so bad.
Exactly. It's reliable. It's like the Reliant Robin. It's like they're all in sports cars, and the Haas are just going around with their little Reliant Robin, having a nice time. Having a look around look at all the sights, having a lovely drive, stopping at for picnics sometimes, just kind of vibing. But that's enough about Haas. Let's talk about our driver of the days. Robert, do you wanna kick us off?
I guess I can do that. My pick for the driver of the day is Daniel Ricciardo, and I think he got used to the car finally in the second half of the season. He had a really good race. He finally beat Norris again. Just consistent race, no major issues, no mistakes made on track. It was just very, very good for him.
Kian, who's your driver of the day?
I mean, before we started, I was a bit undecided about who to pick, but it just shows how much he went under the radar today until I think it was Robert that mentioned him. But I probably have to go Sebastian Vettel. Especially from starting with the back of the grid. I mean, sure, they say with the engine penalties that your car's going to be a lot better, but still to come from the back and get points is quite a commendable achievement from him.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good drive from Seb and Danny. I've gone for my boy, the guy I'm repping today, the man who will be driving around his home Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. It's Mr. Sergio Perez. I often get criticised by Josh and Joe for going for Perez a bit too often, but I think he deserves a mention for driver of the day today. He did have a great race. He got that final spot on the podium. Admittedly, he didn't really have much competition, but if you combine that with, if you look at all the interviews after the race, he had no drink. He rocked up to the race feeling ill before it even started. And in his interview, he said the race was just about surviving. It shows you really how bad the conditions are. I mean, imagine getting in your Formula One car, feeling ill already, and then halfway through the race to not have a drink. That is horrible in the American heat with the humidity. It must have been horrible. And to still get a podium after that, I think that's more than commendable. I think that was a sensational drive from Checo. But yeah, that is my drive of the day. And that wraps up our review of the American Grand Prix. The next race is in Mexico in 2 weeks' time, where we'll have a preview and a review for with Josh and Joe back, but we'll see. But yeah, thank you guys for stepping in. It's really great for you to give some great insight, and it's been a pleasure having you. So thank you for that.
Thank you for inviting us.
No worries. It's been great. It's been great to have your insight. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, download all the good stuff, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time. Thank you.